In 1965, Singapore's leader went on live television and cried. Not because he was happy, because he was about to watch his country die. 50 years later, that same doomed country became richer per person than the United States. How do you go from a leader crying on TV about certain death to beating America in wealth? That's what we're about to find out. Let me paint you a picture of Singapore in 1965, because small island with no resources doesn't capture the sheer impossibility of what they were facing. No oil, no minerals, no farmland, not even enough fresh water to drink. Unemployment at 14%. 2/3 of the population in slums with raw sewage. The entire economy ran on British military bases that were closing. No military, zero. Sandwiched between angry neighbors. The betting odds on Singapore's survival? You'd get better odds betting on a goldfish to climb Mount Everest. But here's where it gets interesting, because before the impossible comeback, we need to talk about how Singapore learned its most important lesson. February 1942. Singapore is called the Gibraltar of the East, an impregnable fortress. The British have massive 15-inch naval guns pointed at the sea. A young British officer asks, "Sir, what if the Japanese attack from the land, through the jungle?" His superior laughs. "Attack through the jungle? Impossible. Everyone knows you can't move an army through jungle terrain." 1 week later, the Japanese walked through the front door. They came through the jungle. The impregnable fortress falls in 7 days. Winston Churchill calls it the worst disaster in British military history. The locals watch the mighty British Empire crumble in less time than it takes to binge a Netflix series. And they learn something crucial. The experts are often wrong about what's impossible. This lesson becomes Singapore's secret weapon. Let's rewind further. For centuries, Singapore is nothing, a sleepy fishing village. Then in 1819, a British guy named Stamford Raffles shows up. "Gentlemen, I'm going to build a trading port here." "Sir, this is a swamp, full of mosquitoes and pirates." "Perfect. Look at this location, right between India and China. Every ship traveling between Europe and Asia will pass through here. This will be the toll booth on the world's busiest highway." Everyone thinks he's insane. But within decades, Singapore transforms from a fishing village to one of the busiest ports in Asia. The population explodes from hundreds to hundreds of thousands. The lesson? Location, location, location. Singapore can't move, but maybe that one advantage is enough. Fast forward to August 9th, 1965. Lee Kuan Yew sits alone in his office, staring at a piece of paper that's just destroyed his life's work. Malaysia has kicked Singapore out. In a few hours, he'll go on television and tell 2 million people that their country is now independent, alone, doomed. He goes on TV with puffy eyes. He's crying because he knows what the experts know. Singapore is finished. But in that moment of despair, something shifts. He stops thinking about what Singapore doesn't have and starts thinking about the one thing they do have, that location, those ships, that strategic position nobody can change. Lee makes a decision. If Singapore is going to die, it's going to die trying. The next morning, Lee calls an emergency meeting. His advisors expect to plan the funeral. Instead, Lee spreads out a map. "Gentlemen, we're going to become the richest country in Asia." Silence. "Sir, did you hit your head?"
"No, we have no resources." "Fine, we'll make our people the resource. We're going to build the most educated workforce in Asia." "Sir, most of our population is illiterate." "Then we'll teach them." "Next, water. We're dependent on Malaysia." "Yes, sir, that's a serious vulnerability. So we're going to turn seawater into drinking water." "That's impossible with current technology." "Then we'll develop the technology." "Next, housing. Families of 8 living in one room with no plumbing. Unacceptable." "Sir, we don't have money for public housing." "Find the money. I want every Singaporean in a decent home within 1 generation." That's impossible, sir. Stop saying impossible. Lee slams his hand on the table. Everything is impossible until someone does it. The British said you can't attack through the jungle. The Japanese did it anyway. Everyone says a tiny island can't survive. We're going to prove them wrong. Here's where Lee does something brilliant. In the 1960s, every developing country is following the same playbook. Build walls, keep out foreign companies, be self-sufficient. Lee looks at this and says, that's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. Singapore is smaller than New York City. We can't make everything ourselves, so we're going to do the exact opposite. We're going to become the most business-friendly place on earth. Zero corruption, enforceable by death penalty, lowest taxes in the region, fastest business registration in the world, rule of law that actually works, courts that don't take bribes. Lee is screaming to every multinational, come here, we won't steal from you, we'll actually enforce contracts. In 1960s Asia, this is revolutionary. Sir, other countries will think we're sellouts. Lee shrugs, let them. In 20 years, we'll be rich and they'll still be arguing about self-sufficiency. But there's still the water problem that could literally kill them. Singapore imports almost all its water from Malaysia through a pipeline Malaysia controls. Sir, what if Malaysia turns off the tap? Then 2 million people die of thirst in 3 days. That's not good, which is why we're going to solve it. Lee launches 3 attacks. First, catch every drop. I want this entire island covered in water catchment areas. Sir, we barely have any land. Then use the roofs. Every building's roof is now a water collector. That river filled with sewage? Clean it. I want to drink from it. Second, desalination. Start researching how to turn seawater into drinking water. We're surrounded by ocean. Third, recycled sewage water. Years later, Singapore unveils new water, recycled sewage so clean you can drink it. Lee Kuan Yew drinks a glass on live television. Everyone watches, horrified and impressed. It's delicious, Lee says. It's not delicious, but it's safe. Today, Singapore is one of the few countries that can survive without importing water. The country that had no water now exports water technology. But the housing crisis is worse. Most Singaporeans live in slums, families of 10 in one room, no running water, open sewers, buildings so flammable they're basically kindling. Lee visits one of these slums. He walks through alleys thick with sewage. He sees children playing in filth. He comes back and tells his advisors, this is unacceptable. We're going to give everyone a home. Sir, we don't have money. Figure it out. I want every Singaporean in a decent home within 1 generation. That's never been done anywhere in history. Then we'll be the first. Lee launches the Housing Development Board. Build thousands of apartments at breakneck speed, sell them at affordable prices, let people use retirement savings to buy them. It's genius. People own their homes, the government gets money back, everyone has retirement savings. It creates massive employment. Western economists say it won't work, too expensive, too ambitious. By 1980, over 80% of Singaporeans live in public housing they own. Try finding that anywhere else. But homes and water don't matter if your population can't compete. Sir, many Singaporeans are illiterate.
Then teach them. We'll make everyone bilingual. English plus their mother tongue. English is the language of international business. Our children will do business anywhere in the world. Controversial. Some accuse Lee of erasing culture. Lee doesn't care. He's playing a 50-year game. Singapore pours money into education. Schools everywhere, best teachers, compulsory attendance. Today, Singaporean students rank among the best in the world in math and science. But there's still defense, no military, surrounded by much larger neighbors. Sir, how do we defend ourselves? Malaysia has 20 times our population. We make ourselves poisonous to swallow. Every male citizen serves in the military. Everyone learns to fight. If anyone attacks us, it'll cost them dearly. Mandatory military service. Every able-bodied male serves 2 years. The strategy isn't to win a war, it's to make winning so expensive nobody tries. The poisonous porcupine strategy. Today, Singapore's military is one of the most technologically advanced in Southeast Asia. Now, here's where it gets uncomfortable. Lee isn't building a democracy. Chewing gum? Banned.
Littering? Heavy fines. Vandalism? Public caning. Press freedom? Controlled. Political opposition? Barely exists. Western countries are horrified. This is authoritarianism. Lee's response? Look at the results. Cleanest streets in the world. Virtually zero corruption. Crime rates so low people leave doors unlocked. Literacy approaching 100%. Economy growing at 10% annually. Lee's philosophy? You can have all the free speech you want in a failing country, or you can have prosperity and order. Most people choose prosperity. Is he right? Is he wrong? That's debatable. But here's what's undeniable. It worked. By the 1990s, something impossible happens. Singapore's GDP per capita exceeds Britain's. The tiny island colonized by Britain is now richer than Britain. The slums are gone, replaced by gleaming high-rises. The port is the second busiest in the world. The airport is regularly voted best on Earth. Singapore becomes an Asian tiger, along with Hong Kong, South Korea, and Taiwan. But Singapore's transformation is the most dramatic. 2015, Lee Kuan Yew dies at age 91. The entire nation stops. People queue for hours in tropical heat to pay respects. Many cry, not tears of despair from 1965, but tears of gratitude. Whatever you think of his methods, you can't deny what he accomplished. He took an island everyone said would fail, an island with no resources, no army, no money, no hope, an island crying on television about its impending death, and he turned it into one of the most successful countries on Earth. The average Singaporean is now wealthier than the average American. So what's the point? It's not that authoritarian governments work. It's not that Lee was perfect. It's not that Singapore's model can be copied. The point is this: everyone was wrong about what was impossible. In 1965, every expert said Singapore couldn't survive. The smart money was on failure. They were all wrong. They made the same mistake the British made in 1942. They assumed what had never been done couldn't be done. They looked at Singapore and saw what it didn't have. Lee looked at Singapore and saw what it did have: a strategic location and a population willing to work. That was enough. Not because it was easy, but because Lee refused to accept that impossible meant anything. Today, Singapore faces new challenges: aging population, plummeting birth rates, skyrocketing housing prices. Can the model adapt? Nobody knows. But here's what I know. The next time someone tells you something is impossible, remember, Singapore was supposed to be impossible too. The next time an expert says it can't be done, remember, experts said you couldn't attack through a jungle, then the Japanese did it anyway. The next time conventional wisdom says there's only one way, remember, Lee looked at conventional wisdom and said, "That's stupid, we're doing the opposite." Singapore's story isn't about having advantages. It's about refusing to accept that disadvantages are permanent. It's about looking at an impossible situation and saying all of them simultaneously, and then actually doing it. The island that refused to die.